His is the part of the offseason I hate the most. You finally start thinking about another run, about this team being right there in the Super Bowl window, and then reality hits. The cap, numbers, tough decisions. And when those conversations start, it means somebody we've cheered for might not be here much longer. Something happened this week that made it crystal clear the Lions are about to make real moves, and not small tweaks. I'm talking decisions that could change the locker room, the offensive line, maybe even the identity of this offense, and trust me, some of these names, they're not easy to talk about. Before we break it all down, do me a quick favor. If you're a real one who rides with this team through every offseason twist, hit that like button and subscribe. Lions Nation Report is brand new. We're pushing toward our first 200 subscribers, and if you bleed Honolulu blue like I do, this is the place to be. Alright, let's talk about what's really coming. The Detroit Lions are projected to be over the 2026 salary cap, which is expected to land somewhere between $301 and $306 million. And before the new league year kicks off on March 11th, this front office has work to do. We already know restructures are coming. That's almost guaranteed. Brad Holmes isn't reckless. He'll move money around before he starts chopping heads. But let's not pretend cuts aren't on the table. They absolutely are. The problem? There aren't many that actually save meaningful money. Let's start with the toughest one, Glasgow. Right now, Glasgow carries a cap hit of $8,437,500. If the Lions cut him, they'd create $5,562,500 in cap space. The dead cap would be $2,875,000. Now here's the emotional part of this. Glasgow had a rough season at center last year. He thought he was finally going back to right guard, his natural spot, and instead he had to fill in for Frank Ragnow. And look, stepping in for Ragnow is always going to be a downgrade. That's not a shot, that's reality. But even by his own standards, Glasgow didn't meet expectations, and it didn't help that he was playing between two very young players. That's a tough situation for any veteran. Still, he didn't look like a long-term answer inside. Now he's entering the offseason with the 9th highest cap hit among NFL centers. And the Lions are clearly evaluating an offensive line overhaul. At age 33, and he'll be 34 when the season starts, you have to ask the hard question, is he still a starter, or is he depth? Because $8.4 million is way too much to pay a primary backup. They could approach him for a pay cut. That's possible. But honestly, a full cut, or even retirement, feels more likely. Likelihood he's a cap casualty? 70%. And that feels real. Now let's talk about Taylor Decker. This one hits different. Decker carries a cap hit of $21,048,000. Cutting him would create $11,604,000 in cap space. Dead cap would be $9,444,000. On paper, that $11.6 million looks tempting. You see that number and think, okay, that moves the needle. But here's the thing. Decker is still playing above average to good football at left tackle. The problem is the injuries. They've piled up the last few seasons. To his credit, he's played through almost everything. The dude is tough, but it's taken a mental toll, and he's openly considering retirement. And if he retires, the Lions get the same cap relief as if they cut him. Now here's where I'm at emotionally. I cannot see Taylor Decker playing in another jersey. I just can't. If Detroit cut him while he still wanted to play, I'd imagine he'd retire anyway. And while $21 million sounds huge, it's only the 12th highest cap hit among NFL left tackles in 2026. That's not outrageous for a starting left tackle. The only scenario where I see this happening is if the team needs clarity and he hasn't made a decision yet. But realistically, likelihood of him being a cap casualty? 10%. And honestly, that feels right. Now the one that sparked real conversation this week. David Montgomery. Cap hit. $8,370,833. Cap space if cut, $3,508,332. Dead cap, $4,862,501. So financially, cutting him doesn't even save that much. That's the first thing to understand. But what changed everything was what Brad Holmes said. Holmes basically opened the door to trade speculation. He said they'd be open to moving Montgomery if he believed another team would use him to his desired potential. He even said he wished they had gotten more utilization from him last year, and that Dan Campbell felt the same way. That's not nothing. That's your general manager publicly acknowledging a veteran deserves more touches. But here's the cold business side. Montgomery is 29 years old. If another team trades for him, they'd be taking on about a $6 million cap hit. That would be the 19th highest cap hit among running backs in 2026. How strong is that trade market really? Running backs don't exactly fly off the shelves anymore. And if Detroit doesn't get an offer, would they really cut him just to do right by the player? That's a tough call. But here's the good news. This whole thing might be overblown. All offseason, the Lions have been hyping Montgomery. And during Super Bowl week interviews, he talked about conversations with new offensive coordinator Drew Petzing. Montgomery said Petzing was very intentional with his message and made it clear he wants him to be part of the offense moving forward. That matters. If Montgomery feels valued again, if he believes he's going to be utilized properly, this conversation dies quickly. Likelihood he's a cap casualty? 5%. And I actually believe that's accurate. Now there are technically other players who could create at least $2 million in cap space. Sam Laporta would create $5.25 million. Brian Branch would create $5.658 million. Jack Fox would create $3.125 million. But let's be serious. There is zero scenario where the Lions are cutting Sam Laporta or Brian Branch. That's not even worth debating. And Jack Fox? He's one of the best punters in football. Not happening. The last name worth mentioning is Josh Pascal. He carries a cap hit of $1,759,863. None of that is guaranteed. So the Lions can bring him to training camp, see how he performs when healthy, and even if he doesn't make the team, they'd only eat about $100,000 via a workout bonus. That's easy math, he's safe for now. So what does all this mean? It means this front office is walking a tightrope. They're in a Super Bowl window. That's not hype anymore. That's real. But when you're paying stars, when extensions start stacking up, when your roster gets deep, the cap squeezes you. And the Lions don't have many easy cuts. If Glasgow goes, that signals real offensive line change. If Decker retires, that's massive. If Montgomery somehow gets moved, that changes the offensive identity. But here's what I actually take from all of this. Brad Holmes is not panicking. They're exploring options. They're being transparent. They're respecting players. That's what good organizations do when they're trying to sustain success, not just chase one season. And as a fan, I'd rather have tough cap conversations in February than be irrelevant in November. This is the cost of being good. Now I want to hear from you. If you had to make one of these moves, which one are you pulling the trigger on? Are you comfortable moving on from Graham Glasgow? Do you think Taylor Decker retires? Is the Montgomery talk overblown? Drop it in the comments. And if you're rocking with Lions Nation Report, hit that like button and subscribe. We're brand new. We're chasing that first 200 subscribers, and this channel is for real Lions fans who actually care about what happens behind the scenes, not just on Sundays. We're building something here, and just like this team, we're not done yet.